All right. Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining us and welcome to our IPG Rep Picks for August. Today we will be talking about Halloween and spooky favorites for indies. My name is Amy Despinnett. I am the Eastern Trade Sales Rep. Here with me today is also Travis.
Travis. I am Travis Hale. I am the trade rep for Central States. And unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately for her, Brianna, who's our Western trade rep, Brianna Spiegel, she's based in Davis and she is on vacation this week. So,
Yes. So Travis and Brianna did share a couple of her favorites on this theme. So that will be in our collection as well. And Travis and I will be covering those on Brianna's behalf. Before we dive in, Travis, if you don't mind, can you drop the collection for today in the chat?
yep, I just dropped it in there, everybody. You can
Perfect.
open that up.
We want to make sure you all can follow along and make your own notes if you wish. And then just two more quick housekeeping things. If you all could stay muted, please put any questions or comments in the chat. Travis will be monitoring that for us today. And then at the end, we usually try to give a little bit of time for any additional questions. So with that, we will get started. Why do you not want to? She said hopefully, and then it doesn't work. There we go.
The spooky terror of Zoom not working. So before we start talking about books, I wanted to let you all know about a few of the promos that we're running. This is a newer promo for us for Fingerprint titles. Fingerprint is a new publisher for us, and we're offering an introductory special for Fingerprint hardcover classics and box sets. These are some truly beautiful classic editions with embossed covers, gold foiling on the edges, ribbon bookmarks that will shine on your shelves, especially with the upcoming holiday season. They really do look lovely on a shelf. So the promo will give you a 70% discount on a minimum of 20 units. That will be on a non-returnable basis, and you can order as many times as you want. The orders need to go through your rep, so either me, Amy, or Brianna, and the promotion is limited to titles in the Fingerprint Fall Special Catalog found here. Give me just a moment and I will grab that link and drop it in the chat.
While Travis is doing that, I'll just jump in for a second and say, not only are these gorgeous books, but the list prices are kind of in the $12.99 to $29.99 range at the top end. So these move really, really well.
Yeah, and we're running this special now until the end of October. And I have one of the titles on my list that I'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah. So yes, please reach out to us with any questions. And yeah, we're happy to help you find what you need for this one. Okay, some other big news that we wanted to share with you. We do have a pretty big drop-in title that has an on-sale date of October 2nd, but we just want to put this all on your radar now. This is from Open Road Media. It is The Price of Children. It does have a feature on 60 Minutes that's confirmed to air on Sunday, October 20th. This is really excellent, thought-provoking, on a very sensitive topic of the Vatican's and the American Catholic Church's practice from 1950 to 1970 of rounding up illegitimate babies that were born during this time and sending them to Catholic families in the US for adoption. Many families in the US didn't quite understand that that's what was happening when they were going through this adoption process. As you can imagine, this led to a lot of heartache and broken families. The author, Maria, did a lot of research, features a lot of interviews from people who were a part of this practice, how it worked, how sometimes the mothers and families who were giving up their child didn't quite understand what they were signing or agreeing to. So it really just fascinating and frankly heartbreaking story. We expect this is very much poised to be a bestseller. The initial print run right now is looking at 50,000, could potentially go up. So again, we just wanted this all on your radar. I think we all have this in our fall collections also, so it's there for review on Edelweiss. Should you want to take a closer look.
Yeah, and just looking forward a little bit to the fall regionals. These are our plans for September. We'll have information about October regionals next month. So for NEBA, Amy will be presenting at the NEBA Fall Conference Rep Picks on Wednesday, September 11th from 12:15 to 2:15. And we'll also have an IPG table at the exhibit hall on Thursday, the 12th of September from 10 to 4. If you're based in California and planning on going to Kaliba, Brianna will be there at tables E6 through E9 in the exhibit hall and presenting at the Rep Picks Breakfast on Wednesday, September 18th. And she will also be at PNBA. We'll have several tables there in the exhibit hall and presenting in the afternoon session of the Big Pitch on Sunday, September 29th. So please come find us there or
Yeah,
come find them there.
we're looking forward to it. And obviously the travel will continue in October.
And then we also just want to recap some of our fall specials. We have a top shelf special. These are any titles in our top shelf program from 2024. If you spend a $200 net minimum, you get an additional 5% discount and 60-day payment terms. And then we have a frontlist special and a backlist special. They are the same special. One applies to titles published in 2024. One is for anything from 2023 before. Both of those require a $150 net minimum spend and give you an additional 3% off and 60-day payment terms instead of our usual 30.
Thanks, Travis. And I just realized that I did not update this slide. So you'll see it says fall 24 and then summer 24 as well in the descriptions. Basically, these are valid once per buying season. So
Yeah.
they're still good no matter what. So just apologies for my confusion there. And then, all right, I'm going to stop my share of our PowerPoint slide and I'm going to move over to our Edelweiss collection. Should work. All right, bear with me for just a second. And then, Travis, is this looking like the Edelweiss? Is that what everyone's seeing?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we'll get started here. Up first, I want to share with you all The Inhabitants from Regal House Publishing. This is very well written. It's a kind of a blend of sort of very much a spooky house, haunted house, gothic story with, a young girl who sees ghostly presence, a inherited property. There's a brooding, handsome love interest who may not be quite what he seems. So again, really adding to that kind of gothic feel. Very much kind of in the vibes of like The Haunting of Bly Manor or The Haunting of Hill House. But it does kind of mix in some touches on herbal medicine and the Me Too movement, all again mixed in with the supernatural. Very much a page turner. The setup here is portrait artist Nilda. She inherits this house, and the story of the house and its architecture is that the architect kind of designed it with properties that were supposed to sort of enhance sort of mental and creative capabilities. But Nelda, as she spends more time in this house, starts to feel like perhaps the house's design wasn't quite as benevolent as she thought. So just a really good, spooky, creepy, gothic haunted house story. And that is The Inhabitants.
Okay, next up is The Undying Monster by Jesse Douglas Kerouche. This is from British Library Publishing, and it's part of their Tales of the Weird series. This is the 46th book in the series. They are not getting stale, I promise you. This is also the second novel that they've published. Previous books in this series have focused on anthologies centered around a specific theme or short writings by a particular author. But as I mentioned, this is the second full-length novel that they're republishing. This was originally published in 1922, and it has everything in it. I'm reading this right now. I'm about halfway through. It has Norse mythology, British history, a family curse, a secretive monster that attacks, the head of this family once every few generations. It's got mummified hands, potential vampires, hidden rooms, hidden secret buried treasure. And most importantly, it has the character Luna Bartendale. She's the character that this family turns to and brings in to help solve this mystery of what's going on with this monster that keeps attacking the head of this family. She is referred to variously as a white witch. She prefers to refer to herself as a super sensitive, which means that she is ultra attuned to the supernatural world. She's one of the first female detectives that was appeared in print, precursor to Miss Marple, a huge influence on Agatha Christie. As I said, this is just such a fun book. And perfect for the holiday season. There's a really fantastic introduction written by the series editor, Mike Ashley, who gives a little bit of background on the author, who is also fascinating. So I feel like this would be perfect on your Halloween table and will definitely move just because it's so strange.
Yeah, here's the updated cover that we're showing as
Yes, thank
well,
you.
which I think looks super, super cool.
That's the mummified hand that they find in a hidden room.
Nice. All right, so this next one is a pocket full of teeth. This is from Running Wild Press. Kirkus Reviews called it haunting and powerful. This dark little gem of a novel is an absolute must read, and I would agree. So this one, for those of you who had maybe joined a few minutes earlier, you might have heard me telling Travis, this one felt eerily familiar to me, like in the best sense, like very just sort of like generational, like something that's sort of, I don't know, a story that's kind of been told over and over and doesn't ever quite leave you. It's what it is the setup is, or the framing of it is a police interview with the main character, Edie Sparrow, and she's telling the story of this mysterious manuscript that she found hidden at the bottom of her mother's desk drawer. Um, and but the manuscript maybe has some spooky or malevolent quality to it. And the quote unquote ghosts of these manuscripts will kind of they haunt Edie and those who kind of come across this manuscript. It is very eerie, very creepy, and it almost is a little like dark fairy tale-ish, with and kind of coming to terms with your own family's not only trauma but history and violence as well. So anyway, Pocket Full of Teeth, I just was kind of rereading it today and once again was reminded of just how much I very much love this book. Highly, highly, highly recommend this one, Pocket Full of Teeth. And then next
Um,
up, we have
is Penny Bloods. This is one of Brianna's picks that I will present for her. So let me read her notes on this. Penny Bloods was a top shelf title from our spring season, and it's part of the British Library's Gilded Nightmares series, which also includes Fearsome Fairies, Celtic Weird, which came out last year and was really popular, and the upcoming Scotland the Strange. These are beautiful cloth-bound anthologies with foiling on the cover that make them look drop-dead gorgeous face out on the shelf. So, as the name suggests, this is a collection of 10 penny bloods from the British Library archives, and these were cheap serials of Gothic drama, violence, and monstrosity from the 1800s that inspired Gothic classics like Camilla. The classic and obscure penny bloods in this collection all feature dangerous and transgressive women, witches, femme fatales, vampire mistresses, and criminals. It also includes insight from the author's studies in Gothic literature. And I love the cover on this one too.
Yeah, it's really eye-catching.
Okay, next up from Cedar Grove Publishing is Sycorax's Daughters. Sycorax, primarily known as the off not screen, but offstage, mother of Caliban and the Tempest. And this is an anthology of 28 short stories and poems, and 14 poems written by Black women authors writing within the horror genre. They explore and deconstruct horror tropes of monsters, spirits, curses, and death through the experience of African American women. The writers in this collection use history as both a lens and source for their horror stories. There was a lot of discussion about how, for much of American history, just daily life was horrific for Black women. And so it's taking some of that history and turning it on its head. So these include stories about demons and shapeshifters, sci-fi horror set in the future, so more like speculative fiction, steampunk stories with horror elements, and female detectives. And contributors include well-known authors like Cherie Renee Thomas, as well as other up-and-coming writers. This, I want to flag, came out several years ago. It was originally published in 2017, and it was a 2018 Bram Stoker finalist for Anthology Collection. And I also want to highlight that this publisher was run by a Black woman whose mission was to uplift and empower women's voices, specifically women of color. Unfortunately, she passed away earlier this year, and we're still trying to figure out what's going on with her publishing house, but we do have this available. I like that. This is Sycorax's Daughter.
All right. This next one is The Case of the Bleeding The Case of the Bleeding Wall from Dead Sky Publishing. This was one of Brianna's picks, so I'll be sharing her notes on this one. But this one is like a horror mystery graphic novel. So you might already be familiar with Dead Sky Publishing, they did a lot of kind of the splatter westerns that have been doing quite well. This one is more of a bind up of a mini comic series. So they're all kind of together here. It follows a seasoned paranormal investigator who is called in to investigate the mystery of the Bleeding Wall. One review describes this as the baby of Edgar Allan Poe and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is, I think, quite a fun mix there. And it's a really nice mix of being both horrifying and hilarious. This is a collaboration between Casey Lansdale and her father, Joe R. Lansdale. And Joe Lansdale has won 10 Stoker Awards for excellence in horror writing. So this one has kind of quite the pedigree in terms of its horror chops. I'm going to show just a little bit of the comic panels here. So you can kind of get a sense of the artwork. But a very kind of, like I said, dark and twisty mini comic series all in one book. And yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading some of the text on here. So this one I think could be a really fun one, especially if you are if you already are doing well with comics or graphic novels in your store. All right. All right, this next one from Camcat, The Woodkin. This is one of mine. It has some really nice reviews from Forward and Library Journal. It won the IBPA Benjamin Franklin Award, the Ippy Gold, and Forward Indies Bronze. So indies are definitely loving it and indie readers, but this one is well, let me just highlight the cover for a second so you can see it up close. Is this one's super creepy. Uh, Actually quite scary, I think. The story here, it is set in the Pacific Crest Trail. That said, I think, this will have wide appeal no matter where you are, but that is the setting. And it's definitely kind of a um, the main character, he is following the Pacific Crest Trail and he comes across a dead body on the trail. And he's like, well, I need to go report this. So he makes his way down the mountain into the small town and immediately notices that something is just like off. This is a creepy, bad vibe town. There's missing hiker posters everywhere. Just doesn't like what he's seeing. Anyone he talks to is just, again, feels very off. So he scurries back up the mountain to resume his trail and but doesn't realize that in his haste to get away from this town, he's forced to kind of make camp nearby for overnight. And he quickly learns that he might not be alone on the mountain. So, as a full moon comes out, he's feeling more and more uneasy and, is a little worried that he might become one of those hikers on the missing poster signs that he saw so many of. So this one is very much sort of monster in the dark, in the woods, being alone. Again, very, very scary, but is doing phenomenally well. Again, another one that we would highly recommend.
Awesome. The Snow Ghost and Other Stories. This is mine. So we have this through PRH UK, and this is a collection of Japanese ghost stories. This came out earlier this year in the spring in hardcover, and it is an absolutely gorgeous book that I don't think this cover fully conveys. The snow has some really cool foiling techniques with gold and silver mixed in. The cover itself is actually bright red, which shines through underneath. And it's coming out in paperback in the spring of 2025. So we have limited uh, quantities of this one. There's probably enough if you want to put in an order for it, though. But anyway, this is a collection, like I said, of classic Japanese ghost stories, originally written in English during the late 19th, early 20th century, intended to introduce Japanese culture to a Western audience. The stories in here were previously collected in, I think, 3 or 4 different anthologies, and they brought them together under this one. And there are, I think, 20 to 30 different short stories in here. Reading through, I think there's uh, some really interesting parallels that you can draw with like more Western ghost stories or even fairy tales like you would find in the Brothers Grimm with like secretive rooms with commands not to enter. And of course, people they do, and then they end up dying. Or promises that are not kept and haunted after death by someone that you promise something to. And then there's also this concept of Akirio, which is a living spirit. It's basically the ghost of a person who's still alive. If they hate you enough, they will haunt you, or their spirit will, throughout the night. So just a really fantastic collection here that I think does well both for the Halloween season, but also throughout the year. Just a really cool collection of short stories from Japan. And then next up, the greatest works of Edgar Allan Poe. This is part of our fingerprint promo that we have going on. Again, if you buy a 20 unit minimum, you get a 70% discount. This one I think is perfect for any Halloween display. It's got this lovely hardcover edition of Edgar Allan Poe's short stories and poems. I had something like this when I was probably like 13 or 14. I was obsessed with Edgar Allan Poe, and I think there's still an audience for that. And I think this is one of the best ways to get an author who you really love, all of their work together at a really affordable price. The usual suspects are contained within, like Raven, the Cask of Amontillado, Murder of the Rue Morgue, all here in the Fingerprint book. Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
And next up, we have This New Dark from Bell Point Press. This is one of Brianna's books, and I will go ahead and read her notes. This New Dark came out in February 2024 from Bell Point Press, which is one of the publishers that recently joined IPG after the SBD closure. This debut horror is True Grit meets Twin Peaks, set in the hills of Oklahoma. A woman has gone missing, and we follow three main characters as they struggle in the aftermath of her disappearance. Her dope-growing Muskogee boyfriend, her teenage son outraged at the world and confused about his sexuality, and a God-fearing woman who finds herself the county sheriff investigating the missing woman. Throughout, as they fight against their inner demons of religion, addiction, and death, they're also stalked by an ancient, shape-shifting evil. The writing is haunting, and the rural Oklahoma setting is just as tightly woven into the horror and suspense as the monster lurking in the shadows. Though the setting is very regional, it captures the eerie feeling so well that is innate to the horror genre and would travel well to other horror sections in other regions. And this is definitely on my to-read list.
Me too.
And then next, a couple of more for me. Children of Paradise by Camilla Grudova. This came out last year. And just a second. And this was longlisted for the Women's Fiction Prize in the UK. I think it was one of 16 titles. Camilla Grudova previously wrote The Doll's Alphabet, which was published in the UK by Fitzcarraldo Editions and in the US by Coffee House. And I loved this book. It is set in a movie theater, and the movie theater itself is kind of one of the characters. It follows a young woman, Holly, who is hired to work at the Paradise, which is the name of the movie theater. This ancient decaying movie house. Initially, she is kind of shunned by her new coworkers. They don't really involve her in their doings, but as she spends more time there, she gets deeper and deeper enmeshed with them and their world until they become her only friends, and really her work and her coworkers are her life. The cast of characters are all weirdos, outcasts. They all, if you've ever worked a retail job, you will relate to their hatred of their customers. They are absolutely so rude to everyone there. And spend their time cleaning up after the patrons. They steal money from the lost and found. They steal drugs that they find and just do them together. They end up all sleeping together. There's one character who is particularly grotesque. She's this older woman who always has food on her face and carries around this huge bag full of garbage and junk, and is constantly smoking a cigarette and annoying the people who work there. It turns out she's the owner of the theater, of course. Midway through, this old falling apart theater is purchased by a huge corporation, kind of like the AMC theater chain, and they send a manager in to kind of like get this crowd in shape. It does not work. People start towards the end kind of leaving either by being fired, quitting, or dying. But I loved this and didn't initially peg it as a horror novel, but it definitely has those aspects to it. Because of the just decay of the theater. And I absolutely, like I said, love this. It's perfect for movie buffs. Each chapter is named after a film. So there's a chapter, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. There's a chapter called Rosemary's Baby, one on Midnight Cowboy. And those kind of relate thematically to what's going on in the story at the time. So that's Children of Paradise by Camilla Grudova. And there was a note in her biography that she also worked as an usher at a movie theater, and I hope that that was not her experience. And then next up from me is Suture from Nick Brewer. This is from Book Hug Press. And I've been slightly familiar with this book just because it's a strong backlist seller for them. I think it was initially published in 2020. I didn't peg this at first as a horror novel either because of the cover, but this is not for the squeamish reader, and I definitely am. This follows, it's three interconnected stories following young women who are making art with their body. So the first story follows a woman who is a documentary filmmaker. She makes her films by removing her eyeballs and putting them into the battery pack of her video camera, and what she sees with her eyes is what the film ends up being. The second story is about a young woman who opens up her chest and takes out her vital organs to create still life pieces that she photographs. And the third is about a woman who writes stories using her blood as ink. So again, not for the squeamish, but I still enjoyed it. What I love about it is it kind of relates images of or ideas around art making, mental health, and women. Specifically queer women in some aspects, and how that art making affects their relationships with their family, parents, partners, and children. Just really cool, but also like read out, with one eye closed.
I was making some faces as you were describing that one.
There's like this description early on where they're in an art class and the teacher is talking about how to remove pieces of skin to use in your art that
Ugh.
just like,
Yee.
yeah.
I mean, my interest is piqued for sure, but ugh.
I mean, having said that, I really did enjoy it. It's just like some of it I had to take a little break from.
Yeah, sure. Um, all right. Shifting gears for a little bit. This is one of mine from Michael O'Mara. This is Haunted World, 101 Ghostly Places and Encounters. So I I'm going to be taking this one to NEBA with me. I'm super excited about it. Um, so Haunted World features, as I said, ghostly places and encounters from around the world. There is a heavy focus on hauntings from within the US. I have it pulled up here on the screen where you can kind of see where some of the encounters are based. But here's what really fascinates me about this book. So it covers, like I said, the details of some that are, super well known, like Amityville, and then others perhaps lesser known, but still very mysterious and eerie. And as well as mixing in personal stories from the author's following of readers and listeners. But the author Teresa, she breaks these ghostly encounters through into four distinct categories of hauntings. And these would be residual, poltergeist, inhuman, and intelligent. So it's interesting to me to kind of think about, you know, these are a little research driven, if you will, these stories. It's not just a retelling of these encounters. They are framed in what this type of haunting might actually mean, or what it could, what could be contributing to it. The author, Teresa, she is a paranormal expert. Which has always, ever since I was a little kid, honestly, has sort of fascinated me, the people who get into this line of work. So again, instead of, as she's using her research to frame these stories and talk about what they might mean, she's also using the latest afterlife science and research. So she's providing these really interesting insights into what we think of as ghosts and hauntings and how that might also tie in with our different perspectives on what an afterlife might be. So I just think this is a super cool, very fascinating book about ghosts and hauntings. Obviously perfect for Halloween, but I think also could just do really well in general for anyone who's interested in the supernatural and paranormal research as well. So yeah, this one, like I said, I just think it's super cool. Each of like part one has like these little um, section headings with some fun artwork, and it's really, really well done. And I think, I mean, I this is the type of book, like I said, that I love, but also really scares me. But that's what they're supposed to do. So, yeah, I think everyone will enjoy this one. Um, this next one is also mine. Now we're moving into some YA fiction. This is All These Sunken Souls, a Black horror anthology. This came out in hardcover last fall, and this September it will be coming out in paperback. It did pretty well in hardcover. I expect it will do even better in paperback. But this one is, Kirkus Reviews says fans of Stephen King and Jordan Peele will be eager to dig into this modernized take on age-old scary stories. It has a starred review from PW. And speaking of Jordan Peele, just for a second, when All These Sunken Souls first came out last fall, Jordan Peele also had an anthology that came out that was called Out There Screaming. So I think these make sort of almost fantastic pairings on any sort of Halloween display. But what's really great about All These Sunken Souls is, like I said, it is a horror anthology that centers Black characters and experiences. I think, a lot of times in the horror genre, there is sort of just like the token Black friend or Black character. Usually they're one of the first ones to die or go missing or what have you. So that is not what All These Sunken Souls is. That it's very much centering their experiences. And while it does is very much the horror genre, it does introduce with kind of within the realm of social relevance as well. So some social themes. And all of the authors are all sort of, some of them are somewhat you might be familiar with, but most are very new um, uh, BIPOC and Black authors. So this one is one that we're really, I don't know, really excited about. I was rereading this today because it had been out for a while, but this covers everything from monster infested asylums to spooky houses, zombie apocalypses, some Southern Gothic, just, like I said, anything and everything that you might think of when it comes to the horror genre. The story I was rereading this morning was, it's a lot of these stories I'll say also have some twists to them. It is but anyway, the one I was reading is about essentially someone planning a home invasion, but from the eyes of the person that's going to be doing the invasion. So we kind of see him like staking out the house and looking at the family, and that is like my biggest fear. So that was one that definitely gave me the heebie-jeebies. This is, YA, it's listed as grade 7 and up. I would probably tick that up a couple grades higher, definitely probably more high school based on the content. But yeah, really love this one. And in person, the cover looks fantastic. So I think could also really pop on your shelves. And this next one is the Double Trouble Society. This was one of Brianna's picks, so I will be sharing her notes. The Double Trouble Society is a middle grade novel that's the perfect Halloween read. Best friends Ivy and Maggie, otherwise known as the Double Trouble Society, must team up to defeat the legendary Crowwood Witch, who has returned after 300 years to eat the heart of a 13th child and become immortal. Very enjoyable romp in which the main characters have fun borrowing magic and being witches themselves, but learn that the true power over evil is love, friendship, and hope. This has all the best Halloween vibes, a haunted house, magic, crows, a black cat, and a witch. But it's definitely more on the fun and spooky side without being scary. I will say I have not read this one yet, but after Brianna's notes and looking at the cover, I will definitely will be reading this book. I think it sounds super fun, almost a little maybe practical or not practical magic, but hocus pocusy even perhaps. So yeah, I think this one looks super, super fun.
Okay, I'm dealing with my own horror story here, a cat with the zoomies while I'm in a meeting. So this next one is mine, Frankenstein. I don't think it needs a huge introduction. People know this story, but I wanted to bring this up because it's part of our Oxford Children's Classics series. And I think it's great within that, but it's also perfect for the holiday season. You're gonna have this on your Halloween displays, right? So what I love about this series is that it packs a lot of information into a short book. It's got the unabridged text, and then it also has an introductory essay. This one's by Karen Millwood Hargraves, author of The Mercies. It has some follow-up questions. It has a glossary for some difficult words that maybe younger readers might not know. It has a timeline of Mary Shelley's life, including key events that influenced the writing of Frankenstein. And what I love about the introductory essay is that it goes into a little bit of the history of the writing of this book. It took her, I think, a year to write, and it was part of a story contest for who can write the best ghost story. These books and this series are, as I mentioned, fantastic. The cover has a really nice treatment on the sides. All of this silver part is like bright and shiny. Um, and there's a really nice price point on them. They're mostly $8.99. And just anecdotally, I brought a sample to a store that I visited, and based on that sample, they ended up bringing in the full series because they liked it so much. So this is Frankenstein, kind of a no-brainer for Halloween. But if you're interested, I would encourage you to take a look at further books in this series. I think each season they have about maybe between 5 and 10 that come out, and it's an ongoing thing. So more to come from them.
Okay, so this next one is mine from 5 Mile. This is Mrs. Snitch is a Witch. Uh, this one just makes me laugh. It's very silly, very fun. The author, Dean Rankin, is known for his work on such comics as Simpsons, Futurama, Rick and Morty, Hellboy. So while this is for a much younger audience, that kind of sort of irreverent humor is definitely still there. But the story kind of a classroom of kids are kind of trying to decide if their teacher, Mrs. Snitch, is really a witch. So we look at all these different things, her eyes, they glow red and she has claws for hands. Does that make her a witch? She has a hairy chin and snakes in her hair. Does that make her a witch? She wears a pointy hat and a pointy dress. She has a big cauldron and during recess she makes potions. She eats eyeballs for lunch and has a magic wand and a book of spells. And she even, the story goes on that, she turned their classmate Kyle into a toad and she has a certificate from the witch school on her wall. So she's a witch, right? Um, Very fun read for Halloween for our younger readers. Spoiler alert here. So cover your ears if you don't want to know. But the end of the book is she tells her class, of course she's not a witch. How dare they think that? And as the class apologizes, we get to see Mrs. Snitch fly away from the school on her broomstick. So perhaps she is a witch. But yeah, super fun and cute. I think this is, yes, our last one for the day is Mr. Pumpkin's Tea Party from Blue Manatee Press. This is from author and illustrator Aaron Barker. This one came out a few years ago, 2019. It was a fall 2019 Kids in a Next List pick, had just rave reviews from PW, Forward, Kirkus, on and on. But this one is, I think, gorgeous. It has wonderful ink and watercolor illustration throughout. It's spooky, but more like charming spooky, not scary spooky. The story is Mr. Pumpkin is throwing a great big party, and he has invited all of his most dapper um, get his most dapper but yet ghoulish guests to this. The story to the party. The story rhymes. It is a counting book. It counts up to the number 13. We have Lady Nightshade brings 3 jars of jelly to share. Madam Silk has brought 7 truffles with glee. Uh, this is probably one of my favorite spreads, actually, but there were 8 cups of tea. Yeah, this gorgeous, gorgeous book. It has continued to do well ever since its release in 2019. So this one is it is a picture book. So it could be as young as readers, ages 3 and up. There's nothing in it, like I said, that's too spooky. It's mainly just really pretty and really charming. So that is Mr. Pumpkin's Tea Party. And just double checking. Yes, that is the last one. So I'm going to stop the share for our Edelweiss, and I'm going to return to our slide deck. We just have a couple more things to chat about. Okay, so um, we just wanted to, of course, thank you all for joining us today. We'll be taking a look at what's in the chat here. Now would be the chance to put any questions there that you might still have. But looking ahead, our next session will be Wednesday, September 25th at 2 p.m. Central. And we will be focusing on holiday and gift titles. So these will be either books that are specifically tied to the holidays or make great gifts. Believe it or not, the holidays are coming right up around the corner, especially for the book world. So we wanted to go ahead and highlight some of those for you for next month.
And I just dropped the link there. If anyone wants to register today, you can. It's there for you.
Thanks, Travis. Also, just a quick reminder, we do have a monthly newsletter. Sometimes it goes out more than once if there's some really big news to share, but for the most part, it's once a month. This is called FYI, our FYI for You Indies newsletter. In that newsletter, we always include, again, the invitations to upcoming webinars. Usually we also have the recording from the most recent. We usually have a section on new and notable titles, any cool trade reviews or news, publisher spotlights, and other cool things like giveaways or DRCs that have recently become available. This is something that it's our best way to keep you up to date with what's new at IPG and the titles that we're most excited about. So yeah, we would definitely encourage you to sign up. I do have the link written out here on the slide, but I think Travis is going to drop it in the chat as well if you haven't already signed up.
It is dropped in the chat.
Great. And then, yeah, once again, thank you all for joining us. We do always really appreciate your time and interest. We love doing these. We hope you enjoy our themes and what we're talking about. If there's ever a theme that you're interested in hearing about, let us know and we'll try to see what we can come up with. But yeah, these are a lot of fun for us to do. So we very much appreciate your time. And then with that, Travis, are there any questions that we need to make note of?
No, most people were just talking about some of the books that stood out to them or that they were excited about reading or selling to some of their customers.
Awesome. All right. Well, we rounded this one up a little early, but let us know if there's anything else. Obviously, you can always follow up with either myself, Travis, or Brianna if you have, oh goodness, sorry, y'all. If you have questions. And we will, again, this is recorded, so we will share the recording for this one in our next newsletter coming out in September. All right, so I think that is everything. So yeah, wishing you all some happy spooky reading.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
Bye.